Jephtah Abu is the founder of Talentpool. Abu is a global network that matches non-technical talent in Africa to companies in Europe and US. Before transitioning into the founder of Talentpool, Jephtah worked as a social media and community manager for BuyPower.ng, the community manager for Amberferrari, a Web3 company based in New York, and a product community manager for Hawaii Connect. Yeah, so with so much joy, please kindly help me welcome. Help me welcome Jephtah. You can just give him a round of applause in the chat. And then before Jephtah just take up the stage, I'm going to share a quick poll. So I will stop sharing right now. So I'm going to share a quick poll for us to all participate. We want to get to know our speakers, our attendees. So this is just a quick poll, and it should not take up to 3 minutes, so that Jephtah can just start up. All right. Okay. So can you take the poll? It's running already.
If we did the same yesterday, can we still do it?
Yes, please.
Yes, you can. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Hi, Bami. I think Jephtah is on the attendee list. Maybe you want.
Yeah, I'm adding him now to the panelist.
Great.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you.
Awesome. So yeah, let me see if I can share my screen. I can not share my screen.
You should be able to. Yes. Can you share your screen? Thank you. So we have like 30 seconds more for the poll. So you're telling us how you heard about the event, the agenda, right? And yeah, where you're joining us from, and also what you think are the 3 most important soft skills to have. Yeah, and your expectation for the bootcamp. We want to know it. So like yesterday, if you joined us yesterday, you know that in between the session, we're having some polls to engage the attendees, and same will be happening today. So this is a promising, interesting session. And yes, we have Jephtah here to do justice to the topic. So, all right, I'll be closing the poll right now so Jephtah can start, and I'll be sharing the result of the poll for everybody to see.
Okay, awesome. I don't know if you can see my. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, awesome. Let me just get started. My name is Jephtah Abu, where everyone calls me Jeff, like sort of my tech name. Everyone calls me Jeff. That's JPH. I'm the founder of Talentpool. It's actually pronounced Talentpool, not Talentpool. So what I do is basically we match non-technical folks in Africa to companies in US and Europe, like a vetting process, like kind of what Tunga does, but for non-technical. So I'm going to be talking about navigating risks in the workplace, like strategies and solutions, because as a founder, there are so many risks I take on. As a team member, there are so many risks I also took on, even as an intern, as a community manager. So I'm going to be dissecting exactly how to like navigate risk in the workplace, because definitely it will come up. It would, you will see it. So it's something as a tech person, there's a lot of risk involved. So we're going to just be learning about strategies and solutions. So yeah, a little bit about me. I'm founder of Talentpool. I was the only African recipient for a scholarship somewhere, first local Nigerian to be awarded a scholarship for C school. I love anime and I love good food. So if you have any good food recipes, please sure drop it in the chat. I would definitely like to see it. I went to Kenya last year and I tasted some food that I really enjoyed in Nairobi. I think Rwanda is also one place I would love to taste the food as well. So yeah, I think in the chat, what I'll just love to see, because I always like getting to know my audience. So I'll just love to see, I think everyone is doing that already, your name, your location, your favorite food, and your ethnicity. So I'll start first, like I said, my name is Jephtah. I'm based in Lagos, Nigeria. My favorite food is actually jollof rice and chicken, and my ethnicity is I'm from Edo State. That's my favorite food, jollof rice, and I feel like it's something I can eat even on a sad day, So yeah, I'd love to see. I think Yesha likes spaghetti. That's awesome. I'm seeing Steven from Nairobi, chicken and rice. I wanted to ask, do they prepare chicken and rice differently in Nairobi? Because when I was there, I ate some specific foods. Samson from Lagos, egusi, peas, abacha. Abacha is actually very good. Beans and plantain, never goes wrong with beans and plantain. Favorite food is fufu. Yes, chicken soup. I'm seeing a lot of chicken. So I think it's an African thing that everyone likes chicken. So yeah, while everyone is doing that, what we are going to be learning today is basically identifying potential and hazard in the workplace, assessing and prioritizing risks based on likelihood and impact, developing risk management strategies and contingency plans, and communicating and implementing risk management policies and procedures. So it's quite a lot of big words, but I'll do my best to sort of break it down so people will understand, because once it comes to risk, especially in the workplace, you're looking at two sides of it. You're looking at the physical side and the emotional side. So I'm going to try my best to break it down. And definitely, if you have any contribution, if you have any question, always feel free to drop it in the chat. So when we say identifying potential risk and hazard in the workplace, I think the first step, or I'd like to know in the chat, what comes to your mind, when you hear about potential risk and hazard in the workplace, if you hear that word, what exactly comes to your mind? Let me see the chat. Okay, I think people are still putting in their food. But yeah, once you hear the word potential risk and hazard in the workplace, what exactly comes to your mind? Okay. I didn't know we like food that much. Yeah, still putting in food. But yeah, while I'm waiting for an answer, I would say that potential risk and hazards in the workplace have to do exactly work safety, Joseph, future hazard, that's good. What can go wrong at any time, whatever. So we have an idea of what potential risk is. So as a business person or as a team member, there are two types of risk that will occur once you're working for a company. The first is a physical hazard, and the second is a health hazard. So these are potential risk. When it comes to physical, we always have to do with things like maybe a wire is faulty, fire, uncertainty, like fire in the office, the system crashing. That has to do with physical hazards. But once it comes to health, I think I saw a survey where they said most people in tech have the highest burnout rate for any career. Myself, I've burnt out so many times, and it's there's high stress levels because you have long working hours. You are always on your computer. So of course, your eyesight will diminish. You have a lot of things that are wrong. So for identifying potential risk and hazards for any workplace, I think the first step you always take is assessment of your workplace in terms of these hazards that happen. So of course, you can't predict any hazard that will happen, because it's like, it comes uncertainly in terms of like, it's something that will show up without you like being involved. Like it's something that will just show up like that. For example, a fire usually caused by a faulty wire, but you can actually assess these things. So most companies have like a regular monthly assessments, like in terms of fire drills, all of that. But I'm going to be focusing more on the health part of it, because a lot of companies actually focus more on physical and they ignore the health part of hazards in the workplace, because health is wealth. So I'm going to focus about health. So employees should always, or employers should rather always prioritize mental health beings for any company. So how do you prioritize health of your members? As a founder myself, most of the staff under me, they all have good, like a HMO that covers like a therapy session they can take monthly. Although it costs me, like it doesn't cost me anything because we can afford it, but this is just going an extra step. Like creating this opportunity where members can actually go for like therapy sessions, I'm actually preventing potential burnout, and I'm also giving them an avenue to actually talk. And as a team member, it's also important to take care of your health. I know everyone wants to be the next Elon Musk, or you want to be the next Jeff Bezos, but the truth is that it's not everyone that will be the next Elon Musk. It's not everyone that will be the next Jeff Bezos. You can just be the next Bami. You can just be the next Joseph. You can just be the next Chisom. Like that's it. And you can be the best person of yourself. But if you walk out and you get burnt out, at the end of the day, you are going to be risk like not even being interested in your work. So identifying potential risks is, like I said, is in two ways. You are looking at physical, you're looking at health. For the employee side, you have to take care of your health being by actually like stopping, like have a break. For example, I don't do 9 to 5. I always tell people my life is 9 to 9 the next morning. Like my sleeping pattern was really messed up, and I realized I was being unproductive. And that's creating a future risk for myself, because the more I don't sleep, the more I'm like groggy, the more I'm tired. So I had to identify that I needed to rest. But for the employer side, they should actually prioritize the mental health being of their employees. I know a lot of, not dragging anyone, but I know a lot of companies that don't. They just want you to work. But at the end of the day, you are becoming unproductive. So that's how you identify risk, by taking procedures ahead of time so that you can cover the health and mental hazards that may occur in any company. So I don't know if you all understood that before I move on. I think someone is not hearing me. Bami, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, so I think maybe Emmanuel, that's from you. So yeah, so like I said, think about it very like in two ways. For identify any potential risk, you have to identify it in two ways. What are the physical and what are the health hazards for any company? Physical have to do with things that can damage the company in terms of fire, faulty wires, and all that. Health has to do with like stress level and your health. So these are two risks that you have to think about, but people tend to ignore health because of physical. And at the end of the day, you have to balance that both. So you have to also know as a team, you need to know when a team member is not pulling their weight because of like their health, and don't like castigate them, or don't say, hey, like you're not pulling your weight. Everybody has different learning curves, and you have to identify what learning curve works for Bami, what learning curve works for Jeff, and like help them. So yeah, that was a lot. So I don't know if anybody has any question before I go on, or if you have any feedback before I go on, because that was a lot to digest. Because I don't know if anybody has ever faced burnout before in terms of like working in your team, and how your company reacted to it. Like, did your company give you time off? Did they say, okay, you must continue working, I've paid you for this month, so there's no way you will not make our money? Or they're like, hey, we understand. So does anyone want to share before we go on? If not, we can just continue. Okay, I'm guessing nobody wants to share. Okay, yeah. So in terms of accessing and prioritizing risk based on likelihood and impact, this is actually a very long sentence, But this basically means that when a risk or when something happens in a company that is like an emergency, how do you handle it? Like, how do you say, for example, now, I'll give a very good example. As a founder working in a company, I had a client that said, okay, we're not going to work with you guys anymore. Like, we're tired of the service. And I had someone that said, or someone that will say something bad on social media. In terms of risks and in terms of hazards, someone that says something bad on social media is also a risk for your company. But a client that is paying is a higher risk. So how do you prioritize that? How do you know when to handle which first? So that's basically what we're talking about. Like when you are assessing any risk that happens, whether it's physical or health-wise, you have to consider it in terms of what is the potential impact it will have on my company as a whole. You can't leave a faulty wire in your company, and you know it's about to catch wire, and go outside and answer a social media post or a call, because you know in terms of likelihood, a faulty wire can cause a fire. In terms of even company culture or even company operations, you can't leave a client that needs your attention or a client that says, I must get this job done, and go and focus on a negative comment. Both are equally important, but you have to prioritize, like in terms of how do you make sure that you handle this risk before this risk? Because at the end of the day, if you handle a social media comment and you're like, sorry, and you apologize, your clients will probably go and you have lost money. But the social media comments, you just answer the client, not even a potential client. You just de-escalated the situation. So that's how you assess and prioritize risk based on likelihood and impact. Like I said before, risk with higher likelihood and impact should be prioritized first and addressed. So it's like, I feel like that would be a very bad day. Let's say you come to work, all the systems are not working. Your boss is calling you. They need an urgent project delivered. Social media, let's say something leaks that people were dragging your company. So you have all these things happening at once. So as a team member or someone that does operations, you actually have to like calm down and be like, okay, which of these will actually affect my company the most? And you look at it. Okay, the client, your boss is calling you. The client wants to sue. There's a social media comment. Everyone is equally important, but each one has different impact in your company. The social media comment is probably the least impact. Your boss calling you might be for something else, but you know this client is a high-paying client and someone that has been with your company the most. So in terms of priority, you handle the client, handle your boss, then handle social media. But if you don't assess it like efficiently, you might end up answering a social media post and the client leaves, your boss calls you and is angry with you and you end up being fired. So as a boss, I would even be more comfortable if, I don't know, Bami, can you hear me? Am I frozen?
No, you're not. I can hear you.
So as a boss, I'll be more comfortable if I call you, I'm trying to reach you, and you tell me, okay, you're talking to this client and they needed something. I'm like, you're doing your job. But if I call you and you're like, you were answering a social media post and my client or the client we want to work with is gone, you have not done your job. So you have to know how to access situations, like which situation requires your attention the most. And always think about that in like, how will this impact my company? What is the probability? Like, will a social media post? I always use social media because I feel like almost every African company is dragged every day. Whether you are good or bad, you always get bad comments, and that's just the price they pay. So that's why I use the social media like negative post. So yeah, before I go on, does anyone have any questions? Or everybody is understanding very, very well? So if you're understanding, let me know in the chat before I go on. I think Olushei understood, Nikuru. Okay, everyone's understanding. Very good. I mean, I'm very active. I like interacting with my audience to know what they are thinking. So yeah, so we have done two things now. We have figured out how to identify potential risk. I said, like picking back what I said there are two types of risk that you have in any company. You have health risk and you have physical risk. So we identified that. The next step we did was assessing those risks. So how do you assess those risks in terms of priority? Which one requires the most attention? Which one would impact the company the most? Because at the end of the day, you are being paid as an employee to deliver on your job. And I give an example. If you answer a negative social media comment and a client that is a high-paying client and someone that needs your attention doesn't get that attention and you're fired, and the person goes, you have probably not done your job. So yeah, now that we have identified, we have assessed, the next step is now to develop. So developing any risk management plan, it's very tricky because you have to conduct a risk assessment. So risk assessment, you can look at it in two ways. For example, as a business, what is your risk of success, of succeeding against your competitors? As a company, what is your risk? So I'll give you a good example. Every company has, every good company, let me use that word. I'm sure Tunga has it as well. In the office, you have fire, emergencies, you have, what's the word? Forgotten the word, but all those things you put up. Extinguisher, yes, you have a fire extinguisher, you have steps to take when a fire occurs. A fire has not occurred yet, but that's a step towards making sure that once a fire occurs, you actually have enough manpower to put out the fire. So it's the same for any risk management system. You have to look at potential risks in terms of, like I said, physical from a business angle and also health. So once you preventative methods. So you have to conduct that risk assessment to identify sources of what is a potential risk in this company. For example, clients not paying is a potential risk. So how would you have a backup plan for that? Or let's say as a VC backed company now, a lot of VCs, the amount of cash flow that comes in is dependent on how much the VC or the LPs give them to continue their business. So for example, if clients are not paying for a product, how will you communicate that to your investors? So you have to identify the risk based on your system. So am I looking at risk for health? Am I looking at risk for physical? Am I looking at risk for business? And I think combining all three will give you a very good risk management strategy. Because if you are creating a risk management strategy for business, you're also looking at in terms of what if the business is not good? How can we get other sources of income? So that's why if you notice, most tech companies branch out. They have so many other things they are doing, whether it's paying for templates. So you are creating strategies for that. In case the business doesn't do well, how can I create a stream of income that can be able to pay my staff? That's for the business perspective. For the health perspective, you have to know that people will definitely we are all humans, so not everyone can work 24/7. People will burn out, people will crash, people will have family emergencies. Some of their parents might die, some of them, they might have accidents. So you have to create strategies in place that can actually solve this. And most strategies will involve creating plans. For example, most companies have good HMOs. So HMO is actually a risk management strategy because your employees might have accidents, they might be sick, and your HMO, they don't have to pay. So that's from a health perspective. Then from a physical perspective, if you have a business, you should always have I think most companies always have a pamphlet they hang around, turn off the ACs, turn off your computer system, turn off this, turn off that. And they do this because it's very tricky because a lot of companies are burned down because of faulty wires. So for any risk management strategy, think about it in three ways: my business, my health, my business, my health, and my physical company. So business has to do with business operations, physical has to do with the office itself, and health has to do with you and your employees. So yeah, I think someone said they can't hear me, Emmanuel, I don't know if it's from my end. So if you can't hear me, please let me know. If you can hear me, please let me know. If you can't, say I can't.
I can hear you. You're
Okay,
audible enough. I think the problem is with Emmanuel's audio. So can you please check your mic, Emmanuel?
Okay, awesome. So we have done 3 things now. I've figured out how to identify potential risk. I figured out how to assess and like handle risk. I figured out how to also create like risk management strategies. So the last part of everything now is when you create all these risk strategies, how do you communicate and implement them? It's one thing to have a very good risk management strategy for your business, for your physical office, or even for the health of your employees or your health as a founder or as a CEO. But now that you have done those 3 steps, you also have to communicate and implement, because if it's not implemented, it's probably not useful. So the first step is, that's why a lot of companies conduct training sessions for their employees. Like they conduct it in terms of, you must know this. They even have fire drills, like it's compulsory because anything can happen. Some go ahead, and I know a lot of companies that actually do CPR, like CPR training, like in case an employee falls down on the job, you can actually perform CPR training. You can perform like a fire safety exercise. So these are all risk management techniques, even from a business, even from a health perspective, because I always say, think about it from business, health, physical. Physical has to do with your office space. So from a health perspective for your employees, how do you train your staff to identify when a member is down? Because, for example, in a team, someone that is feeling sad will probably not function as well as someone that is happy and motivated. So how do you create a policy, or how do you communicate to your team that this risk management technique states that when an employee is feeling sad, your line manager has to like talk and tell them how are you feeling, check up on them, and even give them a break. I don't know if they do that in Africa, but I know some of the companies I worked for, no shade to anyone, but the companies I worked for, like it was compulsory. If you are feeling down, you can actually check out for the day. And one of the things I'm even doing at Talentpool is we have a transparent policy where you can actually talk to me. Like Tunga does that, amazing. Like if you are feeling down, you can actually take a day off. So you have to make sure that these employees actually know your risk management techniques. And any good company is always transparent to a certain degree. Like they're transparent in their policies, they're transparent in the way they hire, they're transparent in their operations. So you have to ensure that your employees actually know, like even as a team member, ask your company, like, what are the risk management policies in terms of my health, in terms of like, if you have a physical space, because most companies can even overlook it. So you have to like be aware of, as a employee, as a team member, I'm entitled to this, I'm entitled to that, because there's a very good phrase, only closed mouths don't get fed, because if you don't ask, nobody will give you. So you have to ask this question. But I feel like companies should also like go the extra mile and tell people, like, this is our risk management policy, this is what you benefit towards health, anything that happens, because life can be hard sometimes, so you always need that support. So after like ensuring that a company knows, ensuring that the employees know the risk management policy, you have to create a platform where clear communication happens. So clear communication is, if you have a problem now, there's someone you meet before you meet me. Like there's a system, there's a hierarchy. If, let's say, Bami is not performing her duty, Bami will not directly just reach out to me, although we have an open door policy. She has a line manager. The line manager will convey what Bami has said and bring it to Jephtah because of the system. So there should be a system in which communication is passed. That's how you're able to like make sure your risk management policies adhered to. Then also establish a system, which is very, very important. Establish a system for reporting and investigating incidents. So if something happens, let's say perchance, there's like a client complains, someone's health is deteriorating in your company, like how is it reported? How is it taken note of? Because you can't just ignore it. You take all these things down, you store it in a way that you can go back to it and learn from it. And the last part I'll say, I already said it, like an open and transparent communication where employees feel comfortable enough to share their potential risks and incidents. Because a lot of companies back then, I know that if you mess up, telling people you messed up is one of the like scariest things you can ever do, especially as a new person in tech. I've been in tech for roughly 7 years. And when I started out in tech, I was so shy. Like, I remember one time I messed up and sent a wrong email. I could not even own up to it. But because I had a good line manager, the person was like, of course, like it will happen. You are new in tech. You are bound to make mistakes. I was given that grace. So as a company or as a professional, you should actually look out for companies. I think Tunga does it as well, where there's open and clear communication. Everyone will make mistakes, but how you're able to handle that mistakes, or how you're able to handle those mistakes sort of makes you a great team member and a great company. So yeah, that's quite a lot. Like I said, I don't know if anyone has any question or any suggestion. Like, I would like to know, was there any time in our careers where we actually made a mistake and we could not, we actually reached out to our line manager or our company and told them that we made a mistake? What was their response? Like, I would like to know before I go to like our work session. Bami, do you have any example? You don't have any. Let me share mine while I'm waiting for everyone to think. So, like I mentioned before, I worked for a company called ... and I was the community manager. So I actually sent out, I think I used MailChimp. So the mistake I made was, sorry, I didn't use MailChimp, I used my email. The mistake I made was I sent out emails to clients and I didn't like put it as a broadcast. I sent as a normal email. So everybody could see everybody's email. And in Europe, that's like data breach. And I was so like, I was scared because clients were messaging me like, wow, you put my email up. But my company actually reached out to them and I'm like, you made the mistake, and they owned up for it. And that's something I still respect them to now, because it was a very big mistake. It was such a big mistake that he decided to sue. They will have like sued my company and definitely they'll make their money. But the fact that the company stuck by me and told me, okay, now you don't do this, like this is a data breach, and I was able to learn. I feel like it's a moment I can never forget. So does anyone have any defining moment like that where they made a mistake and their company actually pulled through for them? If they raise their hand, Bami, can they talk? Like, can people in the chat talk? If anyone, I would like to hear someone.
Yes, they can, but I'm not sure it's everyone that can talk. So if you raise your hand, I can just allow you to speak.
Yes.
Anyone raising their hand?
I think Frederick said in my first year.
Yes, Chisom, you can speak, unmute and speak.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good afternoon. I remember one particular incident. I will never forget it. I was in charge of a particular speaker, and my boss asked me to get in touch with this speaker. So when he replied my email, I didn't know I was supposed to give her a follow back on what he said. Instead, I got back to him. So when she found out, she went berserk. Like, she was so upset because it was supposed to pass through a chain of command, and I shouldn't be the one getting in touch with the client directly. I was only supposed to send him an information and then direct him to the appropriate staff who will handle everything. But I now had to do a feedback to him, which was not within my job description. I was so ashamed. I felt so bad. I've never been, she scolded me in front of everyone. I was mortified.
Wow. Chisom still talking.
Yes, sorry. I think my little son was disturbing me, so I couldn't really hear anything. So when I apologized to her, and then when I finally saw the client, I apologized to him, and he said, no, it's fine, that he understood. It looks like I'm a newbie, so he's used to it. I felt a lot better, but since that day, I don't do that.
Exactly. That's a very good example. Thank you so much for sharing, Chisom. I think I'm seeing someone, Frederick. He said, in my first year in tech, I broke a brand new monitor screen. It was difficult for me to own out and inform my line manager. Later in the day, I told him and he wasn't really happy about it. I was scared throughout the whole week. So I think I mentioned in terms of communicating risk management policies that the fact that you have an open, transparent system that people talk, it gives people the ability to actually report on risk, because at the end of the day, if they hold it in, it will still affect the company. So I make sure that every of my team member, even if they mess up, they can actually tell me, hey, Jeff, I messed up. Of course, I'll be angry because it's money that I'm like losing. But at the end of the day, money can always be made. But team members, like my mom always say one thing, yeah, people can never forget how you make them feel. They can forget what you said. They can forget an action, but how you made them feel is something they can never forget. So it's the same for creating policies, yeah? Create a policy in such a way that if you have enough trust to tell me I messed up, I would, of course, I'll be angry, but I'll actually tell you that, okay, next time, don't do this. But when you intentionally mess up more and more and more, then there's a problem. But if you mess up the first time, you can always take correction, you can always learn. So yeah, I think if nobody has any more examples, we can actually go to our group session. So yeah, like I said before, based on everything we learned 3 things: how to identify risk, how to assess, how to communicate, and how to implement. So all these things now, we're going to put it into practice. So the example now that I would love to see in the chat is, you have a client in your office who is threatening to sue your company. This client is one of your longest serving and highest paying clients. Suddenly, all your computer systems in the office stop working and you find out they have been hacked. What do you do next? So it's 2 crazy situations, because one has to do with a long-serving client, and it's also one of your highest paying clients. The second has to do with your systems getting hacked in your company. So based on everything I said, like, what would be your next step of action? I would love for everybody to answer this quick assignment. I know it's a bit taxing to think about, but let's see what people will say. On the group work, survey the damage caused by this Kevin Chika. Kevin, where are you from? Lagos, Ghana, Nairobi? Okay, on the group work, survey the damage caused by the breach, attempt to limit any further effects from hacking. You can reach out to the law enforcement reporting the hack and find a way to recover from the breach by assessing data backups and learn and put necessary measures against the breach. So that's a very good one, Kevin, but you addressed only one situation. So this risk management now, you have to access both. Like, how, as you are doing this is a perfect example. Like, you actually was spot on in terms of how to report data breach or hacking. But also, you also have a client that is in front of you. So how do you handle both situations based on what we have learned? I think Joseph said he will handle the data recovery part first. Good example. Does anyone have any other idea? Of course, you can always raise up your hand and talk if you feel like you have an idea of what you do. Bami, what do you think? Let me ask you. What do you think, Bami, before you answer people? What do you think you would do if it happened to Tunga today?
Tunga. If you happen to Tunga, yeah, and I happen to be the one to handle the situation. So given what I've learned today, definitely I'm going to be assessing the situation, putting the client first. So you have a client in your office, so is to have a conversation with the client and get settled with the client, right? Letting the client understand, well, owning up to it will be the first thing. you own up to what you've done, you apologize, and not just giving excuses, right? So you apologize and own up to it, and then you have a conversation on how giving the client the possible solutions that you would take to sort this particular problem, and then then you do the data bridging, getting what Joseph said. Then, yeah.
So that's what I said about assessing. So when you are assessing risk, you have to think about it in what is more of a potential harm to the company. Yeah. So I'm seeing a lot of, I think people raise their hand so they can actually talk as well before I give you guys an idea. But I'm seeing a lot of comments. Like, this is a very good example. Like, why does the client want to sue the company? I want to know this. Think about it. Like, why will a long-serving and highest-paying client want to sue the company? Is anybody unmuted? Like, does anybody want to talk?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah. My name is Odion. I'm from Nairobi, Kenya. Thank you very much for this question. Basically, according to what you've taught us, it's going to be, first of all, I have to attend to my client first, but not forgetting about the other issue or risk that is at hand. So first of all, I have to let the client know that, okay, I'm here for you. Okay, please just give me like a time, like maybe a time frame. Maybe I'll get back to you if he or she will allow that conversation, while I make sure I run back to my system to avoid any further damage or occurrence or hacked or my system being hacked by any other person. According to what you've taught. Yeah, thanks so much. Thank you.
Thank you. So, yeah.
Thank you. Can I speak?
Yeah, you can, Joseph. Go ahead.
Yes, you can.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. This is a very tricky question, Japheth, which you have asked actually. It is kind of happening at the same time, because it says that the client is in the office right now and he's been serving for long. What makes it again much more difficult is that he is the highest paying clients. So I assume that there are other clients, but this client here is somehow a special client to the company.
Of course.
Then in the process of the client threatening, I think the client has not taken a step to sue the company. He's just still threatening. So it means there is a procedure the client knows that must be followed. So first of all, I think I will ensure that the data recovery for the system, for the computer system, is happening concurrently as I try to get from the client why they are threatening to sue the company. So in that case, I will be handling the client as the team, because I am sure from yesterday's we are working as a team, and in this case I'll give myself, or I'll put myself in the leadership position whereby I have a team who is working on the computer system and I have a team who is working on the operation. So I will ensure that these things are going concurrently. As I'm trying to get to know why the client wants to sue the company, I will also make sure that the people on the computer system are trying to do the data recovery. Maybe the reason as to why the client is trying to sue the company is in relation to the computer system, whereby maybe there is information which is in the system which we need at hand to counter check together with the client before he or she goes ahead and sues the company. That is my thought.
Thank you so much, Joseph. I think we can just take, I know a lot of people want to answer, but we can just take like one more, then I'll actually give you guys like an insight towards this question. One or two people.
Can I speak?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah,
I'm Xavier from. So what I'll do is look at the situation, because I'm assuming that these things are happening concurrently. happening at the same time. So at one point, you'll have to prioritize one, even though the prioritizing time might not differ at a huge gap. But at one point, you have to choose one. So assess both risks and look which one and search for the one that poses a higher risk to the business. Then after that, I'd go for the one that poses a higher risk to the business. Then later on, try to solve it quickly, then to attend to the other one. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. So yeah, let me give you, it's a very tricky question because two high risk things are happening at the same time. Yeah, but if you remember, I said, when you're assessing risk, you're looking at it in terms of how would this have potential impact on the company. So if the highest paying client and one of the longest serving clients is threatening to sue your company, that's a big issue. This is a human risk. The other is computer-based risk. Humans are not computers. That's one idea. It's easy for me to like calm down a human being. So the answer I was looking for, I was trying to understand what we have learned from this situation. And I think almost everybody was saying the same thing. But the correct answer is you assess it based on the situation and you attend to the client first before you go back to this computer system. And this is because at that moment, the client is exaggerating, like he or she is angry. So you have to de-escalate that situation. Because if I'm a client and I'm angry, I'm shouting, and you leave me, even if your system are being hacked, and you go and attend this, I'll leave the company. And at the end of the day, even if I fix my system, there's a data breach, we all make sure nothing happens. I've lost one of my highest paying clients, which will actually affect my money flow. So that's just the way I wanted us to think about it. Assessing two risky situations, which one needs our attention the most, and which one we can come back to. So I think a lot of people actually gave very, very good responses. So yeah, thank you so much for this class. This was amazing.
Yes, thank you.
So much questions. You can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on LinkedIn. I'll definitely answer your questions.
Yes, there is a question that I would love you to take before you leave us, Jeff. So there's a question here in the Q&A, and it said that, how do you handle an authoritarian boss and there is an issue with the boss and the client? This is an anonymous attendee, but I would have said the person should unmute.
So the question is asking, how do you handle an authoritarian boss and also a client that is bossy as well, yeah?
Yeah.
So what I've figured out in my career is that bosses that are very like I call them dictators, yeah? They're usually result-oriented. And I'll always say this, yeah? Having a boss that you can communicate with is very toxic. But if you are in such situations here, you have to like be more result-oriented. Even if it's bad, like you have to be more result-oriented. So if you are creating results for your boss, even if the person is commanding you at the end of the day, you have to still create results. Like you have to just be result-oriented, because at the end of the day, you can't talk to such people, but you can talk to them with your results. So if I say I got 50 clients and this is what the person might be like, so get me 100 clients. I'll say, if you are in such situation, be result-oriented and remove yourself from the business, like separate your personal feelings from a business feeling. Look at it as just work. And if you can, find a way to bounce. Like if you can, but if you can't, be result-oriented and separate yourself from your boss. Like think about the business as a business. I think that's just the best example I can give you right now. So actually having another meeting I have to go for now. It was so amazing to meet everybody. I think it was so short, but I'm sure it was very impactful. But I have another meeting I need to go for. If you have any questions, these are my social media links. You can always follow me. I always answer your questions. And yeah, I'm always here to teach and also learn as well. This was really amazing. Thank you to the Tunga team. Thank you to Bami and our team. And I really appreciate everyone.
Thank you very much, Jephtah. Thank you. Please, can we give a round of applause to Jephtah in the chat? Thanks for coming. Thanks for the awesome session. We really had a blast